Welcome to another episode of the Meal Prep Monday podcast. I'm your host and founder of Prep Dish, Allison Schaaf. In today's episode, I have a reflection on mealtime and making meals happen and figuring out what do we like about all of the things that go into our meals and maybe what we don't care for as much. So before we get into today's reflection, I wanted to remind you that if you have not tried out our time-saving meal plans, we now have Instacart grocery links. These links are one click and it takes you to a pre-filled shopping cart. So your shopping cart is ready to go with all the items you need for that week's meal plan that we provide. And once you get your groceries, we then provide specific prep ahead instructions with our super fast. It's 1 hour or less of prep and all your meals are ready to go for the week. If you have not tried these out, now is a great time to do so. Just head to prepdish.com/MPM, short for Meal Prep Monday. You can get 2 weeks for free. Check it out and see how it works for you. So for today's episode, I thought it would be fun to have a reflection time when it comes to meals and everything that goes into them. I have spent a good chunk of my career putting a lot of thought into all the different pieces that go into making that mealtime happen. That, 30 minutes of what could be chaos. It may also be, hopefully it would be like really amazing connection, but like what goes into that 30 minutes each night of dinner time? What are the different pieces that lead up to that? What has to happen afterwards? And how can I help? How can I make that easier and more enjoyable for you? But today I want to focus more on you and your feelings around all of these things that need to happen for mealtime as a way to sort of take a step back and see what's working for you right now when it comes to mealtime and maybe what's not working. And also how you feel about it. Okay, so we're going to get into it. Some of these questions might be something you haven't even considered in the past. So I'm just going to walk through kind of the different pieces that are happening often in the background. I mean, I guess if you're in charge of meals, you're aware of these things, but you may not be consciously thinking through how it's working for you. So let's start with we're going to start with grocery shopping. And this was prompted by our new Instacart links. I've thought a lot about, is this something that people need? Is this going to be significant to save, 30 minutes each week with grocery shopping? Is this something people care about? Because I know it is for me. But let's start with grocery shopping. So how is it happening? Is it you that's getting the groceries? Is there someone else in the family that buys groceries? Is it online? Do you go into a store? I have friends and they love to go into the store. They love to go grocery shopping. They love to walk the aisles. I don't mind doing it a few times a year. It's kind of fun to take the kids in, make sure they at least are aware that a grocery store exists and how it works. But, I spent years as a personal chef. I got plenty of hours in at a grocery store. I am very happy to click a button and have my groceries show up at my front door. And now that I only have to click, I will say when I was before we had our Instacart links, one part of making meals happen is I actually didn't enjoy online shopping for groceries. In some ways, I liked it less than going into the store because I was sitting in front of my computer, which is what I'm already doing for work, and having to go through and add items. And the process just felt slow and tedious. So that would be an example of, hey, I even went through can I delegate this? And we had seasons where we had an assistant and I would send her a list of here's what I want for my groceries for the week. Can you order them? And it saved 20 to 30 minutes of my time. But oh my gosh, it was so nice to have that off my plate because I actually did not enjoy grocery shopping online. Now, with us having these new links, I'm back to liking it. It's easy. It's quick. I can make a few edits. I have my system down. So now I'm going to file that under, I enjoy it. I'm happy doing it. Really no need to delegate it, especially because it is so quick and easy. And then the next part, actually I included putting the groceries away. So putting the groceries away in my house, I will say actually is really fun because my kids, I do try on purpose to schedule the delivery for when the older boys are not in school, when they're home. They love to help. They love to unpack the groceries. They rip them open. They get excited over a head of broccoli, and they get excited over just like they hold things up and like, oh my goodness, it's canned pumpkin, and they're just so silly around it. And they sometimes are more helpful than others, but for the most part, it really they can provide significant help, and they make it more fun. Like otherwise it's just me kind of doing it. It's drudgery, but when they're doing it, it's a lot more fun. So that's how I actually have taken that from something that maybe I wouldn't otherwise enjoy, but now it feels like a family activity. And, sure, there's times when it shows up just like, oh, this was not like the right time for this to show up, or we're in the middle of a meltdown. But when it hits at the right time, unpacking the groceries is now something that, I can mark off as the enjoyable part. Okay, meal prep, chopping, all of that. Now, this is a piece doesn't have to happen, right? Like you can not do meal prep and just do all of your cutting and chopping and mixing and preparing of the meal at mealtime. You don't have to do it in advance. I enjoy doing it in advance. I enjoy doing it in advance even more because I know I'm going to love those moments in the evening when I get there and some of it's already done. I will say there's times when I look at the meal prep and I don't do all the meal prep pieces. I may say, oh, I know like the night of, I'll just mix those spices the night of. I don't need to do that now. And sometimes it depends on what kind of week I have. If I'm going to full on do all of the prep dish meal prep, or if I'm just going to do, bits and pieces. And same thing here of like, sometimes I will have my kids help out. We work with an au pair, and there's some weeks where I will hand her the list of like, hey, here's the chopping that needs to be done. And she will, sit there and chop and get all that done for me. And I don't mind handing that off. I don't mind doing it, but also I'm not attached to someone else wants to pitch in and help. So as I go through these things too, it's like, well, if I really didn't like it, then yeah, maybe there's someone else in the household that can help. Or there are weeks where I get the kids involved, and especially if I look at the prep and I know there's things that they like to do and tasks that they like to help with, and, get them involved as well and have them helping out and have it be more of a family activity versus just a to-do list or a to-do on my list. Now, then the other pieces are the time right before the meal is going to happen. And this can be anywhere from, 2 hours before your meal or 20 minutes before your meal. This is something where I've really had to, adjust my expectation of like, I go in, I always start a little earlier than I think I need to. If it's a school day, I like to at least get a handle on a few of the tasks before the kids walk in the door. So that way, when they come in, if they want to help, great, we can do it together. But if it's a day where they're kind of needing some more attention, I can stop what I'm doing and, give attention. And maybe that's not helping in the kitchen. But I do have one of my kids really wants to help in the kitchen. So sometimes if he shows up and there's nothing to do, he gets upset over that. So, I am trying to save some tasks that we do together. But I would say that piece of it is one that I have really shifted my perspective. There's been seasons where I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to, I'm right in the middle of work and I have to stop and like run downstairs and get dinner, get it going and all that. But I've really changed my mindset on that. And I feel like the piece before dinner is something that I really enjoy kind of that time. Because I already know what I'm making, because most of the time I've done my prep, I at least have my meal prep and like my dinner instructions. It's not a lot of thinking. It's just kind of going through the steps. So I've learned to really kind of enjoy that time. I like that my kids see me do it. Everyone's around. It's a fun, enjoyable part of the evening. But again, I've had to be more intentional with kind of creating that space, knowing how much time it's going to take, and also creating more buffer time, because I know I can't just head down, ignore everything else that's going on and prepare the meal. It needs to be seen as more like, like a big family time where I'm kind of doing it on the side. The actual meal time, again, like I've tried to, as intentionally as possible, have this be a space where we sit down. We started doing the thorns and roses, kind of like your high and low from the day. We'll do that. We have a little prayer that we say before we say grace before dinner, and, just kind of creating the space for family connection and enjoying mealtime. And again, I've got when you've got a bunch of little kids, it's not always going to be that way. But when it is, it's worth it. And then when it's not, I just have to remind myself that there are nights where it is worth it. And even if there's an off night, we can get back on track the next night. So I would put that under the category definitely of, enjoying mealtime. If the kids are throwing food, if they're complaining something yucky, I don't know, maybe I have to just kind of take a deep breath and get through it. But for the most part, it's enjoyable. And then mealtime afterwards, doing dishes. Doing dishes, I actually don't mind. One thing I have found in terms of doing dishes, I've gone back and forth of like, would I prefer like everyone just pitch in, do the dishes at the same time, teamwork, it goes faster? Would I rather alternate taking turns? Would I rather, not do them at all? So, different ways. And this is also even with meal prep. It's like, when you're making your meal, would you prefer it if someone's in there helping, or do you kind of prefer to have your alone time and that sort of thing? With cleanup, a lot of times in our house, it's, whoever cooked doesn't have to clean up. So a lot of times I am skipping cleanup and helping with the kids. But I will say, I don't know, it's kind of 50-50 on sometimes if the kids are having a difficult bath time or whatever it is, I wouldn't mind being in the kitchen cleaning up. I don't not enjoy cleaning up. I just, sometimes the rule in our house is if I've cooked, I don't have to clean. And that's an easier one to delegate in my house than some of those others. But it's one to think through of like, how do you handle that in your house right now? Does it work? That is also one where I do try and get the kids involved as much as possible, just bringing their plates to the kitchen. My oldest really does, and he wants to wash dishes. It always turns into some like weird game and mess and all that. But I'm trying to like figure out ways to let him help when he wants to and get him involved with that. And, we started with bringing the plates back to the kitchen, but also like, can you put them in the dishwasher and giving them a rag, letting the kids wipe the table down. That's something that they're good at. They can wipe the table down after the meal. So just figuring out ways where everyone can pitch in and have it happen, have it not feel like it's ever falling on one person's shoulders. And it's just kind of this collaborative family time. So I hope this reflection was helpful. If there's something that you thought through, I would love to hear feedback on this episode. If there was something where you're like, maybe this piece of it, either I could change the way I do it, I could hand it off to someone else, I could get the kids involved, maybe not get the kids involved, whatever it is, but just kind of just thinking through all those different pieces of what it takes to get meals on the table. And what's working for you right now? Do you enjoy it? If not, are there ways that you can change your mindset, change the way it happens, change the way it looks so that it is enjoyable, right? Like, I don't want just like, sitting down at the meal, like that's the reward and that's amazing. But I want all the pieces leading up to it. Is there a way that all of those can be pieces that are, a positive and not just a means to an end? So that is my reflection for today. A reminder that if you have not tried our meal plans, my whole goal with those is to make mealtime easier for you, to make the various pieces of getting meals on the table easier for you, whether that's grocery shopping, the Instacart links, the meal prep, whatever it is. I really, delicious meals that taste good and keep the flavors interesting. All of those pieces are what I want for you. So if you haven't tried them, prepdish.com/MPM, short for Meal Prep Monday. And that's all I have for this week. I will be back again next Monday with another episode.